But a big week of news, plenty to cover. Let's bring in my panel now. Daily Telegraph National Affairs Editor and host of the US Report here on Sky News, James Morrow. And Pauline Hanson's Chief of Staff, James Ashby. Well, welcome to you both. I'll start, of course, with the biggest story in the world yesterday. I think pretty much the biggest story again today, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. It's still leading headlines globally. James Morrow, first to you. A defiant Donald Trump. He's landed in Milwaukee. He fully intends to speak at the Republican National Convention this week. This is just a day after being shot in Pennsylvania. He's not officially due to speak until Thursday. That's when he'll formally accept the Republican nomination. But at the last convention, he broke tradition and turned up on day one. So anything's possible. And I think after yesterday's assassination attempt, I mean, we're in uncharted territory, aren't we? What do you expect?
Well, we're in completely uncharted territory, Peta. And one thing I'll note is that in an exclusive interview with Selena Zito, Donald Trump said that he's basically torn up his entire speech that he was due to give on Thursday night, Friday, midday our time at that convention. And he wants to give a speech that is all about bringing the country together. And he spoke very, movingly about how he sees himself in this moment. And I think that we saw in the wake of that assassination attempt and the way he basically pushed himself up and essentially forced his Secret Service agents to stop and let him reassure the crowd. I think we saw a Trump that has convinced a lot of people that he is, in fact, the real deal, that he's not just somebody who talks tough on TV, but that he's actually, somebody with quite a formidable character. And now I think going into this convention, he's not at all cowed. Instead, he's completely galvanized, I think, to spread his message and his vision for America. So, we may see him early in the convention, but he's also a showman, so he knows that keeping him waiting is also sometimes a good move.
James, I made that point in my editorial. I mean, the composure to do that, the presence of mind to know that you need to reframe that narrative, reframe that shot. It's not, an old man hustled away. It's a defiant leader. I think that was extraordinary. And I think we are going to see something extraordinary in the next couple of days in Milwaukee. Questions to you, James Ashby, being asked today regarding the Secret Service. Not only, how did a shooter get so close to the president, but it seems that there were people in the audience marking out the young man, the 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, on the rooftop, warning police. There were certainly armed police there, as well as the Secret Service. There's going to now be a review, but the Biden camp, the Democrats, they are under a lot of pressure for their rhetoric, aren't they?
Yeah, they sure are. And if anyone ever questioned whether there was such a thing as a God, I think the answer is now known. And you can also tell which side God's on, because this was a significant event which occurred over the weekend. And of course, there should be questions asked about the security. More footage came out today which indicated that people were trying to get the attention of the police that were standing at the back there and trying to say there is a shooter, there is somebody on that roof that should be looked into, because at the end of the day, I think it was only those people at the back that probably distracted that shooter, because let's keep in mind, he was only about 100 metres away from Trump, who was on that stage. It wasn't a tough shot. I think he was rattled, and as a result, he missed the shot.
James, I want to get your comment on this tweet I picked up today. 100 million pissed off Republicans, it says. 0 cities destroyed. It's worth commenting, isn't it, that unlike the left, there's been no riots, there's been no looting. Can you only imagine what might have happened if that was Biden at the lectern?
Yeah, and Peter, I think it's a really sad reflection of the state of the left. But anybody who's lived through the last 4 years, the last 8 years, and watched America closely knows exactly what this person is talking about. We know that in 2020 we had all of the riots around Black Lives Matter and Antifa. We've seen civil unrest at the 2017 inauguration of Donald Trump. And here you have an act of political violence, apparent political violence, aimed at the Republican candidate for president to take him out of the race and take him off of this planet, quite literally. And you know what? Everybody has been quite calm about it, and there's been no calls for retribution. There's been no calls for, division. And I think that speaks to the character of Trump's supporters. And you can only imagine, though, and we've seen this before, whenever the left is disappointed or upset by something, the first thing they do is they call out the goon squad. And this is where we are in politics. And where does Joe Biden go, saying, well, we've got to bring the country together, but, it's his side that's so often responsible for tearing it apart.
Well, just stay on that theme. Here's a tweet from Conservative commentator CJ Pearson, and it reads, "The assassin who tried to take the life of President Trump and successfully took the life of a father of two was 20 years old. We need to have a serious conversation about what the radical left's indoctrination of my generation is doing to our mental health." James Ashby.
Well, there's a lot here that obviously social media is doing to people. Social media is whipping up a frenzy, not just in the United States, but right across the globe. And I think, Peter, you and I are old enough and we've seen enough politics in our time to have seen discontent in other parts of the world. I remember in '96, after I just finished high school, being over in Indonesia when Megawati was trying to run there, and there were riots and a whole heap of things going on there. But let's not forget, we've seen some pretty outrageous things. It's only that social media wasn't around back in '96 when Pauline Hanson first came to Parliament. She was having protesters that were bussed in by the Labor Party and by some of the universities across the country, filling condoms with urine and faeces and throwing eggs at those people who went to support her at halls and different venues that were hosting her talks. It could have been a whole lot worse back then. Thankfully, it wasn't. But this sort of behaviour, if you're on the wrong side of politics, unfortunately, those on the left love to attack you. And they're often the ones that are violent. And it's been exacerbated by social media because people love to see their name in lights and people love to see their actions put across the whole globe. In other words, gone viral.